My first early memories of childhood memories of when all this started is when my mother actually said, no, you can't have ferrets. You ain't keeping dogs and ferrets at the house. And I thought, no, okay, well, I'll get myself an allotment. So I remember in the Welsh valleys, you know, the only place where a young man could run his projects, whatever he was doing, would be an allotment out of the way of everybody. So that's how I started. Who am I? That's an interesting question. I often ask myself that question myself. I'm someone who's rather obsessed with nature, and I've been obsessed with the nature since a very early age. When most of my contemporaries, friends of mine, were playing rugby and chasing girls and drinking, I was the eccentric child who was out hunting with hawks and lurchers and terriers, skinning animals, making gloves from their skin. So yeah, I was a little bit odd as a kid, and I haven't changed. I'm on the same. I've been on the same path. I'm 50 and I haven't changed at all. I remember, you know, many memories of me always up, always up high in trees. You know, pushing the limits, pushing the boundaries all the time. But my earliest memories is hunting, ferreting, you know, catching foxes with my hands and hunting with hawks and just working with dogs, never with guns. Wasn't interested with guns, but I was interested in using animals to hunt other animals. That's my earliest memories of catching my first rabbit, skinning my first rabbit, trying to make a pair of gloves out of it, this type of thing. Was there anybody showing me? Absolutely no one. I mean, nothing has ever been handed down. I remember my grandfather. Was an old Welsh miner. Never spoke about working in the mines. I mean, it was a subject that was never talked about, probably because of the dangers and the hardship. And my grandfather would never talk about the mines. But I remember my grandfather, you know, talking about how hard it was, where he would have to hunt even in South Wales for rabbits and this type of thing to feed the family. Times were hard then. So I remember my grandfather showing me how to skin a rabbit. I think that's the only thing that has ever been shown to me, was basically my grandfather showing me how to skin a rabbit. And then from there, when that skin was in my hand, then it was like, well, what do I do with this? This seems like a resource. I was always attracted to the resources. You know, what can I do from this? I don't want to waste this. This is something valuable. In my eyes, it was valuable. So who am I? I'm an eccentric nature lover with a thirst for knowledge and a passion for making clothing and running sled dogs. I'm basically be very interested in Indigenous and Inuit culture, or any type of knowledge, old skills. That's who I am, I think. And landing in Canwllach is like, this place was almost like this, it was nothing there. It was just this base. It seemed to be some sort of base there, American base. Nothing there really, apart from a glacier, huge glacier. I mean, quite an inhospitable, bleak environment. You know, the first impression of Greenland.
Vi er meget, meget, meget glade for maskiner.
Ja, det kan jeg høre.
I've just landed in Greenland and it's extremely windy. It was a bit of touch and go landing in the plane. I was kind of scared for the first time being on that aeroplane coming in. I mean, it was rough. Are these dog kennels here?
No, it is some dogs here.
Yeah, some.
It is not so many. It is from the local people who have dogs.
So you're going to go out onto the fjord and then go, and then you kind of go right.
It will be snow on this one. For 2 days ago, it was driving dog sleds on the local people here. But it has been windy yesterday and today.
Yeah,
and the snow
it's
is
gone.
here. Yeah, no snow.
They're beautiful dogs.
I
mean, how did the Greenland project come about? My work over the years has got better and better and better. You know, the first parka I made to where I am now, good grief, I mean, I'm on a different level. So I made this one particular parka and it was based on it was a very, very highly detailed parka that I was very attracted to in some museum. I think it was the London Museum that I was in, and there was an Inuit parka there. And I didn't take any photographs, but I took a screenshot in my head. And I memorized it, and I basically wanted to copy this. But I thought to myself, I could never copy something like this. I was never good enough. But over the years, I started to get more confident in my work. Don't forget, nothing's been handed down to me. There's no books on this subject. So I just started dabbling with the sewing techniques. And then it slowly started to click. I thought, wait a minute, I'm starting to get this. I thought maybe I'm able to produce something special. So I remember making this parka for my wife, and it was a highly detailed parka. I think it's the parka that's sitting behind me now, on the wall there. And there's a few mistakes with that, you know. But I was learning. But anyway, I think it was from this particular parka that someone from Greenland had noticed it online. And what I didn't realise, it was somebody who was working with the Inuit communities of Greenland, working on a project regarding reindeer sustainability, and basically contacted me because they could see what was happening over in Greenland, that there was this issue with Inuit hunters not using and throwing away the skins, and saw me as somebody that was using the skins to produce these beautiful garments. And basically I was invited over there to run a workshop with 15 Inuit students. I'm working with another Inuit lady called Tukamek, she was in her 70s. Very interesting lady. Her mother and father were living in Karnak, which was in the high north of Greenland. And I was asking her questions, you know, what's happened? What's gone on? And she says, you know, well, my parents, they knew about the skills but never really used them. But it was her grandmother and her grandparents that were wearing the reindeer skin. Not the reindeer skin, rather, the seal skin clothing. And it was the woman's role to make the clothing for the man. Because the man is the hunter, the woman is making the clothing for him to go and hunt. Both roles are completely complementing each other's role in Inuit society. Without each other, neither of them could sustain themselves or their families. So the man would be out hunting and the woman be making the clothing for the hunter. and so much knowledge with these women. These women were just, I mean, if you think my Parkers are nice, I mean, these people put me, I'm at a child's level compared to these women. And Tukamek remembers her grandmother's teeth being very worn down because her grandmother was biting and making the skin soft with her teeth. So you can imagine, you know, and I've worked with Tukamek. I mean, she was on my course, I was on her course. It was such an interchange of knowledge during my time there. But I could feel, imagine trying to make a whole reindeer skin soft. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. And Tukamek, she says, you know, I remember my grandmother's teeth being worn down, you know, from the woman's role in making these clothing, making the clothes. I remember there being a documentary on the BBC called Flight of the Condor. And I remember asking my father when I was a small kid, I was haunted by this music, and I begged my father for this cassette or the theme tune to Flight of the Condor. And my dad was quite musically inclined. He was in the male voice choir in South Wales, and he went out and bought me this cassette then, and it was all to do with the flight of the condor, and it was all to do with the mountains and the nature and a very harsh environment. I was very attracted from a very early age, this very harsh environment and how people could live there. And I had a yearning for wanting to be there myself. I always felt as if I was being born in the wrong country. Forget that. Okay, I've just caught an internal flight now from the airport to Carnochtic. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. And then trying to get into Sisimiut. But the landing strip is primitive. It looks as like it's right on the edge of the coastline, in amongst rocks and all sorts. So that's Sisimiut airport, and it looks as if we can't get in. So we've been flying around for the last half an hour now, trying to, waiting for the winds to die down. But we just had an announcement now that we have to go back. So we'll see what happens. This is what it's like when you are trying to fly into these remote areas, I guess. Sisimiut, what a place. How can you describe Sisimiut? Sisimiut is almost, it's a large village of different colour houses, and when you find out and you look back in the history of it, is obviously it was a lot of these settlements and houses were timber houses which were provided by the Danish government for the Inuit to move to these settlements, as opposed to their old way of life. They were, what I hear is that they were forced to move to these areas against their will. So all these houses with different colours, and there was pink and blue and red and yellow houses. And I think doing this little bit of research, the colour, they were all colour coordinated due to who was taking over that property or that house, whether they were carpenters, whether they were fishermen, whether they were this or that. So it was fairly colour coordinated for people's trades. So my initial thought when I went there was a very colourful village of houses with all these different, it looked strange, just this village in the middle of nowhere, which is brightly coloured, with this with this industrial fishing village, which was, you could see that it was its main resource was fishing, mixed up with snow machines and sled dogs everywhere, like almost 2,000 sled dogs in Sisimiut, where you've even got an area dedicated to the sled dog. Well, there's 2,000 sled dogs in Sisimiut. And it's interesting that only Greenland dogs can be in Sisimiut. And from Sisimiut north, other dogs are banned from that area. So it was just a mixture of industrial fishing, hunting, seal hunting, caribou hunting, sled dogs, snow machines. 80% of the village was indigenous. Just a hustle and bustle. No roads in Sisimiut out of that village of Sisimiut. So I couldn't believe the amount of cars there. It was almost like being in Stockholm. The cars everywhere. You had to be careful because you had to be mindful of traffic. But then people would just be driving around in this village, and that was where the hub, the hustle and bustle was concentrated in Sisimiut, because there's no roads in, no roads out. You can't get out to Sisimiut by car. I mean, you can drive around, but that's all you can do. The only way to get out to Sisimiut is by plane or by boat. You certainly can't drive. You can get out maybe by dog sled, dog teams, but in car is impossible. And that's what made it really interesting, is that you can't drive anywhere apart from round and round the village. So people were, what a busy fishing village, mixed up with sled dogs, hunting, snow machines and all sorts. It was, I can't put my finger on it, but Sisimiut was probably one of the most interesting places I've ever been. It was a mishmash. That's how I can describe Sisimiut. Arriving in Sisimiut, I realised very soon that I was going to be working with Inuit ladies, females, that had already had a sewing background, which made me feel a little bit nervous, because you know, I knew the ability of the women, the indigenous Inuit women, that it's been their culture for many generations, this sewing culture. So when I went there, I went to a place in Greenland. I think it was the Culture House or the Culture Hub, where they actually make the Greenlandic traditional clothing. So they offered us a room where we had access to sewing machines, and there was almost like a lecture room, a studio rather. So I was working with 15 students in a cultural hub, the only cultural hub in Greenland that are dedicated to making the Greenlandic Inuit clothing. So that did actually make me feel a little bit nervous of going there, but immediately I kind of felt very comfortable, because I could see directly that they were out of their comfort zone working with reindeer. They were only comfortable working with sealskin, and they were not used to working with this material. So immediately I felt very relaxed and very comfortable, knowing that I was working with a material that they had never ever used before. Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming here. It's been a long way for some people to come. I've always been interested in Inuit culture, in Arctic cultures, and I'm 50 now, and my destiny and my mind has never changed.
Inuit kultur so kontigiwan
rope and things to carry.
so tiu me vegliara lo yellen lona tomatarsinnaallatita.
This is also a very nice material. You can use this in the bags, little pieces like this or here. Does anybody know what this is? I know you know.
After onanalunginnerlugu so
I need a volunteer to put it on. So it's easier to see. And this one's for sale if anybody's interested.
Fisiara na parusukkoni tuniara mo.
Yeah, it's full of them. It's the right size.
Fisiara na pisisukkoni.
So I'm gonna show you the design of bag that I think is good for you to try and make.
Taskisuliassarsi titartalerpa.
And then the reindeer leather will be on the top. And then we make some sort of, and you can put it over your shoulder. And then this, some rope here that you can wrap around like this. Okay? Any questions?
How big is it?
Right, now then, looking at the amount of material I got, so we've got reindeer leather for the top of the bag. Where's Eva? I later found out that a lot of these women, it was rather emotional actually for me. I actually felt very honoured to realise that some of these women had travelled from remote areas for hours by boat. So as I said to you, earlier in this interview, that there's no access, you can't drive anywhere. There's no roads out of Sisimiut. It's extremely off grid. So the only way to get to Sisimiut is by boat or by plane. So later for me to find out that some of these women had travelled hours across rough seas, rough oceans. The Arctic Ocean, Baffin Bay and all this. It was so close to the Northwest Passages. And they're travelling, to meet me, to work with me, to learn from a Welshman living in Sweden. It was quite an honour, So I'd say not there like that, and about there, and a 10 minute. This is the one that's going to be on show. So it's going to have to be this edge. What, like this, you mean? I was wrong, because you can do it. So you can put the red on the top, because you've got the black, the red. So twist, this one, twist. This This is a bit difficult, but you can manage it. So we're going to put one over the top.
Colour is it more than 10 centimeters.
Yeah, I mean, I would never have thought in my wildest dreams, you know, where this journey is actually taking me, from hunting in South Wales with a hawk and catching my whatever I was catching and trying to make gloves or out of the fur of the animal that I've just caught. And I'm here has led me to Greenland, working with Inuit communities, working with reindeer, which is even reindeer itself, you know, is not even in my culture. It does, you know, there's no reindeer in Wales. Okay, the stitches don't have to be 100% perfect when you're working with them. Okay, so when you turn the reindeer skin the other way, you never see them, and then it gets lined then with this material. So you don't have to be 100% accurately perfect. Like some of your work is amazing, but it can be unnecessary in some situations. She's used these colours. Now, that is quite advanced inlay. So that you could use on a coat in certain places, but it's a lot of work, because if you look at the back, imagine having so much of this everywhere. It's a lot of work, but it looks absolutely beautiful. But that is quite an advanced inlay. Excellent. Have I felt like an imposter? That's an interesting question, actually, because even though I'm not an Indigenous person myself, as a young child, from a child's point of view, you have no concept of what an Indigenous person is. But for some reason with me, I was very drawn to the same, I was channeled towards that area. I had no idea that if you had asked me when I was a kid what's an Indigenous person, I wouldn't have a clue. So as an adult now, I've started to see that can be a kind of a political issue here. But I've stayed true to myself. I'm not a political person. I have gone with my drive, and my passion has steered me, and I've ignored negativity, anything negative that has been thrown towards me. I've just basically brushed it off like water off a duck's back, because I believe that the knowledge belongs to the person that basically wants to learn. Don't forget, nothing's been handed down to me, so I've had to chase this knowledge myself. So after 30 years, I'm feeling right now where I am now, even though a lot of people think my work is amazing. But me personally, I actually feel as if I'm on the first rung of the ladder, because nothing's been handed down to me. I'm self-taught. There are no books on this subject. So this was so whenever these things have cropped up where it's become, or people have fired some political questions at me, I've said, well, I'm self-taught. Nobody's ever shown me anything. Everything I'm doing is from my heart, from my drive. I've made so many mistakes, but I'm at a point now where I feel as if I'm ready to teach other people the little knowledge that I have. Because they're so small, so you can overcome this problem if you just make them a little bit bigger.
Yeah, like that.
Like that, and you can speed things up as well, because it goes faster. Now this area has to be really neat. That's it. That can be done a bit more. Look. Just tidy it up. And then do this over the bin. Or it'll just drive you crazy. I'm wanting to show Indigenous people or non-Indigenous people the things that I know. Because what I notice is that a lot of Indigenous people are losing their knowledge, they're losing their skills. I'm speaking to Inuit people and they're telling me that it's missed 2 generations already. And that was the reason why I was invited there. It was because, the Inuit are hunting the reindeer now and throwing the skins away. And of course, this Indigenous culture of Greenland are realising that, wait a minute, throwing the skins away? Hang about this. We know that in our ancestry, the reindeer was used as such a valuable resource. So we throwing the skins away, but it's the same in Sweden. I mean, they throw in the moose skins away. I mean, it's a wonderful resource. If you throw in leather away, you throw in parts of the animal away, and that never ever sat good with me, even as a small child. I wanted to use parts of the animal, anything I was hunting, I wanted to use it because I felt that it was something sacred. I felt that I've taken this animal's life and it was something sacred to me. I'm here with this Inuit lady. Things that I'm not even sure of. She's got some needle and thread, raw skin in its raw state. So there's something that I'm learning. I don't know what she's going to do here.
If we cool that here, I don't think we can, but in the future, if we use water, would that be okay?
So here's Tukamek. She's given instruction, on the old Inuit ways, on how to process the reindeer. She was a very fun-loving person. I really connected with her a lot. These are images of me using the ulu, and I'm fleshing a reindeer hide here. So I'm actually involved in Tukamek's course herself. So yeah, I'm fleshing the reindeer hide here with the ulu.
Do you want a taste?
I'm on my knees.
It's a video.
Oh. And here is a good example of the settlements that the Danish government, what I've been told, had forcibly moved the Inuit communities to these apartment blocks severing the Inuit from their traditional ways of life. This is what I didn't like. I didn't like this. This didn't feel right. From the skill of the Inuit, the knowledge of the Inuit, to be forced to live in an apartment blocks like this, disgusting. I didn't like this.
Cod fishing, so they want to make cod factories, so they put up the royal company put up a village there, build a church, build a trading house, build house for these the chief there, and the fish factory for salting fish and drying fish, like in Norway, hang dry fish and so on. And that's they are alive till 60, 69.
So why did they just...
Politic. Somehow they decided we're gonna empty all small villages in Greenland so they can move to big towns, and then they big fish factories so the ladies can work there and so on. So a little bit forced on people. So anyway.
So if anybody wanted to live there, could they?
They could, but they put down the schools and everything. So
yeah.
So automatically they moved to Sisimiut.
Yeah, this is Dogtown. I'll never forget this place. I was very drawn, and I felt very well connected here with the dogs, because this is my environment with the sled dogs. I understood this environment very well, and I read the dogs very well also. And here they are, and the birds and the ravens pinching the food. You can imagine the raven interacting with these sled dogs, coming down for pieces of meat or scraps that the dogs have left. Here's some of the bags. Wow, some close-up images of the bags.
We were impressed by you.
And here she is biting the hides and showing how they would make the skin soft by biting.
We were impressed by the work that they did. Oh wow.
It was a high standard. I mean, these women already had a certain amount of knowledge. Oh, there you are. That's a great photo to finish on. Wow, what a lovely photo of the students. That's a that's a great photo. I want to keep this photo. And this is back to the beginning. Wow, what a lovely memory.
When you'll never forget.
From this to this. This is my journey. This is my journey. From not knowing where I'm going, no idea, to building relationships and an interchange of knowledge. So these two photos explain everything. This is me not knowing where I'm going, a Welshman living in Sweden, on his way to Sisimiut, to invited over by the communities of Greenland to teach in reindeer sustainability. And this was the outcome of meeting and greeting Inuit, especially meeting Tukamek, who had a lot of knowledge on the old ways. And this is my journey. This is it in two photos. Where am I going next? And this is how it is. This is why I feel at 50 I'm moving. I'm on my way somewhere else. Maybe it's back to Greenland. Maybe it is back to Greenland. Great. This is two fabulous photos. My favourite out of the bunch.
Also.
So you can talk to Claire now. So going forward, what's next?
Well, Claire, I haven't told you. But I'm leaving you.